This is Nightline and I'm Norzie news making the headlines. Malaysia to be on priority list for China-produced COVID-19 vaccine. And new CMCO guidelines revealed for Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya. China has agreed to include Malaysia on a list of priority recipients for a COVID-19 vaccine once it is successfully developed. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said the vaccine from China may be deployed in Malaysia by the end of the year. Tan Sri Muhyiddin said that the matter was relayed during a meeting between Foreign Minister Datuk Sri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein and visiting Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi on Tuesday.
China adalah antara negara yang paling ke depan dari membuat kajian dirikan kenaan penemuan vaksin. Saya dimaklumkan sudah sampai ke tahap akhir dan sebelum akhir tahun ini mungkin sudah akan dapat digunakan selepas ujian klinikal dilaksanakan. Dalam perbincangan tadi, Menteri Luar China yang sebelum ini berbincang dengan Datuk Hishamuddin, Menteri Luar kita, bersetuju. Yang bagus dia kata nak bagi Malaysia priority. Keutamaan pada Malaysia. Ini saya cukup sukacita macam jaminan bila dah boleh besok, the first country yang dia akan bantu is Malaysia.
The Prime Minister was speaking at a virtual media conference on Tuesday. The Prime Minister also announced that Malaysia has decided to join the global COVAX COVID-19 vaccine access plan, co-led by the World Health Organization (WHO), by making an initial payment of 40 million ringgit. China has said that the vaccine could be ready for use by the general public as early as November. Malaysia will meanwhile monitor the development of the vaccine closely, as getting the vaccine is a matter of high priority for the government. Wang, who is also China's state councillor, is currently on an official visit to several ASEAN countries, with Cambodia as his first stop, before arriving in Kuala Lumpur on Monday on a strict set of standard operating procedures amid the country's battle against the third wave of the pandemic. The Prime Minister stressed on Tuesday that the move to implement the Conditional Movement Control Order, or CMCO, at specific areas is to ensure a balance between safeguarding the people's health and their livelihood. At a virtual media conference this afternoon, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the decision made by the National Security Council, NSC, is aimed at reducing the number of new infections in those areas within 3 weeks.
The economic activity will still be there. If what Selangor government is concerned about is economic activity, that will not be affected. This also has been detailed out by Dr. Ismail to explain all the sectors involved. It's not just industry, it's all economic activities, small businesses, pasar malam ataupun pasar minggu, and of course shops in malls and whatnot. They can continue to operate because we understand there must be a proper strike of balance between life and livelihood. There will be a slight surge in numbers, as what I have learned for a number of months managing COVID, but after a while it will hopefully be plateaued, and then after 2 or 3 weeks is what DG Hisham is saying, that you can see a downtrend. So I think things are very much under control at the moment.
And as the situation, according to the Prime Minister, are very much under control, he advised the people not to panic when the conditional MCO is enforced. A new SOP has been announced for the Conditional Movement Control Order, CMCO, in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya that is set to take place on Wednesday. Senior Minister for Security, Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob, said individuals who are on duty are allowed to cross districts and states, but only with an approval letter. Those who need to pass through Selangor and Kuala Lumpur to other states are advised to obtain approval from a nearby police station before starting their journey. For workers travelling within the same district, they don't need to produce a work permit or approval letter. Those who are travelling by air via airports in the CMCO areas, such as KLIA, are required to obtain a police permit. In his virtual press conference, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri also said the government is encouraging employers to allow workers to work from home. Meanwhile, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri on Tuesday has clarified that all business, economic and industrial activities will be allowed to operate, but within a restricted time. Dining in at restaurants is also still allowed, but only limited to 2 people per table, with drive-thrus and takeaways encouraged instead. For restaurants, food stalls and convenience stores, their operating hours will be from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Markets will also be allowed to operate within a limited time frame. However, farmers' markets and night markets will have to follow strict SOP that have been set with the People's Volunteer Corps or RELA on site. Petrol stations' operation hours have been limited from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m, but those operating on highways can continue to operate 24 hours. Taxi and e-hailing services are now limited to 2 passengers only and can only operate between 6 a.m. and 12 midnight. Clinics and hospitals can also operate 24 hours, while pharmacies and shops selling medicines can operate between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m. Trade, industry and manufacturing transport will also be allowed to cross districts and states. Meanwhile, non-Muslim religious activities will also be limited to 6 people during the CMCO in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya. For mosques in Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya, congregational prayers at mosques with only 6 individuals, including the Imam, will be allowed. As for Selangor, the Islamic Development Department Malaysia will bring this proposal to the Sultan of Selangor, Sultan Sharafuddin Idris Shah, for approval. All leisure, recreational and cultural activities have been banned during the CMCO, including theme parks, indoor playgrounds and cinemas. E-sports, non-contact sports and indoor sports not involving more than 10 people are allowed. Swimming pool activities and sporting events will also be banned. However, centralised training centres run by the National Sports Council and state sports councils can continue in a quarantine-based approach. Events such as weddings, celebrations, reunions and other social events are also not allowed. All tourism activities in the CMCO area have also been prohibited. Education institutions including schools, tahfiz centres, kindergartens and daycares are to close. Students sitting for international exams, however, can continue. The nation on Tuesday recorded 660 new cases with 4 more deaths. The Health Ministry in a statement this evening also said 6 new clusters were detected. It was also the first time that the number of patients in the intensive care unit surpassed the 100 mark. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said of the total new cases, only 2 were imported. The bulk of new cases came from Sabah with 443 cases, followed by Selangor and Kedah. The 4 new deaths were also all from Sabah, comprising 3 women and men between the ages of 36 and 84. 4 new clusters were reported in Sabah, the Samara, Bina, Sabindo and Bestari clusters. 1 was detected in Selangor, the Bah Kenangan cluster, and another in Pulau Pinang, the Jawi prison cluster.
Prioritizing the people, business and the economy, and boosting demand from consumers and investors as governments across the globe help their economies recover from COVID-19. Money Matters takes a closer look at Malaysia's journey to maintain the recovery momentum. This Saturday at 5 p.m, only on TV3.
PKR President Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim presented to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong only the number of MPs he claimed to be backing him and not the list of their names to strengthen his claim. Istana Negara Comptroller of the Royal Household, Datuk Ahmad Fadil Shamsuddin, said Datuk Seri Anwar presented the numbers during the opposition leader's audience with the King, Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al Mustafa Billah Shah at 11 a.m. on Tuesday. During the audience of about 25 minutes, Datuk Seri Anwar presented the number of Dewan Rakyat MPs who he claimed supported him and not the list of names of the MPs. In view of this, Sultan Abdullah advised Datuk Seri Anwar to abide by and to respect the legal process as enshrined in the Federal Constitution. Datuk Ahmad Fadil also said Sultan Abdullah expressed concern with the nation's COVID-19 situation, which has resulted in a conditional movement control order or CMCO being imposed on Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya and Sabah from Wednesday. Pursuant to the implementation of the CMCO and Sultan Abdullah's decree, the Istana Negara will enforce a semi-lockdown that will be effective until further notice. The King also urged the people to remain calm and to come together to fight the pandemic. Earlier, Datuk Seri Anwar announced that he had presented legitimate documents to the King to prove that he commands a formidable, convincing majority among parliamentarians. The PKR leader said that the King would look through the documents before a decision is made.
The King assured me in no uncertain terms that he will respect fully the Constitution and the spirit of the Constitution. And I then also reiterated the fact that he has discretion. And he should be given adequate time to study and digest the papers, the documents, and to consult the other party leaders. So I think that's it. I'm not in the position to then decide on behalf of the King.
Meanwhile, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said he will leave it to the wisdom of the Yang di-Pertuan Agong to make the decision regarding Datuk Seri Anwar's claim of having majority support in the Dewan Rakyat. The Prime Minister said the absolute power held by the King is stipulated in the Federal Constitution and urged the people to have faith in His Majesty to make a decision on the claim.
So I do not want to comment on what Anwar did at the palace. There's so much interest given to that. As far as I'm concerned, I think I leave it to the best judgment of the Agong. Yeah? The Agong, I think, is the most learned and qualified person. He has got his own way of doing things as per provided by the Constitution.
Still to come, main suspect in money laundering case flees just before re-arrest. Stay tuned. China on Tuesday expressed its commitment to purchase 1.7 million tonnes of palm oil from Malaysia until 2023. Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Hishamuddin Tun Hussein announced this in a joint news conference following bilateral meetings with his visiting Chinese counterpart Wang Yi on Tuesday.
Both sides agreed to promote sustainable requirements for palm oil products which adhere to Malaysian sustainable palm oil and the green food label. We appreciate China's agreement to encourage its enterprise to increase import of sustainable produced Malaysian palm oil and other products in accordance with the market rule.
In 2017, Malaysia exported 2.87 million tonnes of palm oil and palm oil derivatives worth 9.42 billion ringgit to China. On enhancing Malaysian palm oil trade with China, Datuk Seri Hishamuddin said both sides agreed to promote sustainability requirements for palm oil products that adhere to the Malaysian sustainable palm oil and the green food label. Datuk Seri Hishamuddin said during the 2-hour meetings, Malaysia and China had also agreed to look forward to an early conclusion of the negotiation on a bilateral memorandum of understanding (MOU) that will provide the broad framework of pragmatic cooperation between the two countries in the post-COVID-19 era. The implementation of the Conditional Movement Control Order (CMCO) is expected to have minimal impact on Malaysia's gross domestic product (GDP). MIDF research said as the CMCO is less restrictive compared to a targeted enhanced movement control order, the disruptive impact should be marginal as most economic activities will be allowed to continue as usual. Hence, the research house said it is maintaining its GDP forecast at a 4.8% contraction for 2020. Previously, the firm estimated that should a month-long TEMCO be implemented in Klang Valley, its impact on Malaysia's economy could reach 28.8 billion ringgit in output loss, or 1.9% of GDP from the fall in aggregate demand. This is because, based on the economic size, Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya contribute about 40% to Malaysia's GDP. This would have resulted in a deeper contraction in Malaysia's economic growth this year, with GDP estimated to contract at a steeper pace of 6.7%. The government had enforced the CMCO effective October 13 to 26 in Sabah and October 14th to 27th in Selangor, Kuala Lumpur and Putrajaya. The Election Commission, EC, has set the polling date for the Batu Sapi by-election on December 5th. EC Chairman Datuk Abdul Ghani Saleh said the nomination will be on November 23rd, while the early voting on December 1st. The Batu Sapi by-election is the 13th by-election called after the last general election on May 9th, 2018.
Bagi urusan permohonan undi pos luar negara dan dalam negara, tarikh buka dan tutup permohonan adalah seperti berikut. Tarikh buka mulai 13 Oktober 2020 hari Selasa. Tarikh tutup borang 1A, petugas pilihan raya, anggota polis, anggota tentera dan petugas media pada 19 November 2020 hari Khamis. Tarikh tutup borang 1B luar negara 12 November 2020 dan tarikh tutup borang 1C sektor keselamatan dan kesihatan 12 November 2020. Bagi proses pilihan raya kecil ini, Puan Faridah binti Giau, Timbalan Pengurusi 1 Majlis Perbandaran Sandakan, dilantik sebagai Pegawai Pengurus Pilihan Raya Kecil Parlimen P183 Batu Sapi, Sabah. Beliau akan dibantu oleh 5 orang dalam pengurus.
There have been concerns raised over holding the by-election amidst Sabah's spiralling COVID-19 outbreak. Datuk Abdul Ghani said all standard operating procedures will be put in place. Batu Sapi is a parliamentary constituency in the district of Sandakan in Sabah. The by-election is being called following the death of its incumbent, Datuk Liew Vui Kiong, of lung infection on October 2nd. At the 14th general election, Datuk Liew from Parti Warisan Sabah won the seat with 4,619 vote majority in a four-cornered fight. Police are tracking down a man with a Datuk Seri title after he fled as soon as he was released by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, on Monday. The man, who is the main suspect in a money laundering investigation, reportedly climbed the fence behind the MACC building. The suspect was supposed to be detained by the police to assist in an investigation involving online gambling activities. It is understood that the man climbed the fence behind the MACC building. According to a source quoted by Harian Metro, police who were then in front of the MACC building only managed to arrest another suspect, who is also the mastermind of the syndicate, along with 2 policemen to assist in the investigation of the case. Kuala Lumpur CID Chief Senior Assistant Commissioner Nik Ros Azhan Nik Abdul Hamid said the police would also re-arrest the 3 other individuals after the court on Monday rejected a remand order against them, who were detained in connection with a money laundering case. Though the court rejected the application for the remand, they are now being re-arrested, involving another report related to gambling activities in Cheras. In Kelantan, the body of an 8-month-old baby boy was found inside a gunny sack filled with salt at a house in Kampung Sungai Dua on Tuesday. The baby was believed to have been murdered by his own father. District Police Chief Deputy Superintendent Samsul Mudin Sulaiman said a police team was sent to the house after a report was lodged by the suspect's cousin at about 11:30 a.m. Search then found the body of the baby in a gunny sack in the kitchen. based on the bruises and injuries that could be found on the baby's body, believed to have been inflicted by a blunt object. Police did not rule out that the baby, an only child, had been abused. Police then arrested the 40-year-old suspect who was inside the house. He is believed to be mentally ill. The baby's body was then sent to the Raja Perempuan Zainab II Hospital for post-mortem. The baby's 32-year-old mother had also been sent to that same hospital for treatment, as she too had bruises on her body. The case is being investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder. Dozens killed in floods across Southeast Asia. This and more stories from the Foreign Front. On to the Foreign Front, nearly 40 people have died in Vietnam and Cambodia, and scores more were missing, including rescuers, due to prolonged heavy rain and flash flooding as Tropical Storm Nangka edged towards the Vietnamese coast on Tuesday. According to officials, at least 28 people were killed in Vietnam, while at least 11 more were killed in Cambodia, where almost 25,000 houses and 84,000 hectares of crops have been damaged. Over in Vietnam, 17 construction workers were reported missing following a landslide at the site of a hydropower dam project in the Thua Tien Hue province. It was also understood that an additional 13 rescuers sent to search for the workers were also missing on Tuesday, hampering the rescuing efforts. Vietnam's weather agency, in the meantime, said the floods are expected to worsen over the coming days, with Tropical Storm Nangka forecast to dump more rain as it makes landfall on Wednesday. Nangka, packing wind speeds of up to 100 kilometers per hour, will trigger heavy rain of up to 400 millimeters in parts of northern and central Vietnam from Wednesday through Friday. The White House physician on Monday said U.S. President Donald Trump has tested negative for COVID-19 and he is no longer infectious to others. According to the physician, Dr. Sean Conley, the negative tests and other clinical and laboratory data indicate a lack of detectable viral replication. Conley, however, did not say when Trump was tested, and it was also unclear on which consecutive days Trump tested negative. The announcement came as Trump traveled to Sanford, Florida, to take part in his first campaign rally since becoming infected with the coronavirus. Trump's evening rally at an airport in Florida will kick off a 3-week sprint to Election Day as new polls show him losing more ground to Democratic rival Joe Biden in 2 battleground states that could decide the November 3rd contest. And now let's take a look at the highlights in Malaysia's main newspapers for Wednesday, October 14th. The New Straits Times focuses on Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin's explanation on why the implementation of CMCO in Selangor, Putrajaya, Kuala Lumpur and Sabah is a correct move. While Malaysia's best-selling Malay newspaper highlights the Prime Minister's announcement that China has agreed to include Malaysia on a list of priority recipients for a COVID-19 vaccine. And Berita Harian, as well as the Malaysian Reserves, underline the Yang di-Pertuan Agong's advice to Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim to abide by and to respect the legal process under the Federal Constitution following a royal audience at the palace. So don't forget to get your copies or subscribe to the online newspaper.